Game of the Year's coming pretty soon. Who's going to be announced for, who's going to be announced for running up the Game of the Year for this year, which is going to be very interesting. I am pretty interested to see what they'll announce, but I feel like I kind of know what games are going to be... What games are going to come out, which one's going to be announced for Game of the Year. But let's take a look at it real quick. Let's talk about it, shall we? It's been a while since I've been on this channel.
I'm going out on a limb here by saying that 2025 has been a pretty good year for games. The GTA 6 delay, it stings. Not gonna pretend it doesn't, but even without it, this has been a stacked year with a ton of interesting and diverse games. To some extent, I'm almost happier GTA is a 2026 game, gives all this other great stuff room to breathe, as well as some room to battle it out in what's probably the most stacked and crowded Game of the Year contests in recent memory. What makes this year's Game of the Year discussion so interesting is that
Mario Kart is definitely not getting Game of the Year.
there's no big, obvious frontrunner. There's no GTA 5 or Elden Ring to take the air out of the room. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own personal favorites, but even among us here in the Game Ranks crew, there's varying opinions on what could and should win, but even more so, just an evaluation of what probably will win. Often there's a game where we're all like, well, that's going to win, even if we want it to or not. We're not at that point. And yeah, I get it. It seems like it might be a little early to start this discussion, but keep in mind, ballots for Game of the Year at the Game Awards go out early November, and the actual show airs between December 6th and 12th, depending on the year. In 2025, the show's airing December 11th, and because the ballots go out so early, games that come out in November, December just aren't eligible to win. Now, obviously, the Game Awards aren't the definitive Game of the Year. I mean, for the most part, it's considered the big...
I wouldn't be surprised if Silk Song gets nominated for Game of the Year for being like that one indie game, because there's usually one indie game that shows up for like being nominated at the Game Awards, because we had a Balatro last year.
One, but every website does their own awards and everybody has their own personal top picks. A lot of the time you read a certain site or watch a certain person because you agree with them, and then what they put as Game of the Award matters more than the Game Awards to you. But collectively speaking, like the Oscars,
I think it would probably be Peak would probably be nominated for probably, what is it, best party game or best family game or something like that.
The Emmys, the Game Awards are a lightning rod of discussion. It's the biggest award show in gaming, and no matter how much you or I might disagree with them, they're the big boys. So, hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, we're gonna run down the frankly ridiculous slate of games in the running for Game of the Year 2025. We're not doing it as a list necessarily here. I think this one's better suited for a more discussion format, because some games we're gonna want to talk more about, some games we're gonna want to talk less about. And before we get going, I just gotta say, if you like what we do, we would really appreciate if you'd subscribe to it. But without any further ado, let's talk about how Game of the Year 2025 is gonna be ridiculous. So, it's obviously fun to speculate and talk about Game of the Year, who's going to win, what lived up to the hype, what didn't, what deserves recognition, what isn't gonna get it. But of course, if you like a game, and you play the game, and you enjoy the game, that's what really matters. This is just fun to speculate about, especially if you're terminally industry-brained, like we all are here. So before we get into what games we do think will make up the primary nominees for the Game Awards,
Let's see. I'm very curious.
Much of an insane year it's been. So what's so
Thank you
interesting
for the follow-up.
about 2025, it's a pretty solid mix of more standard, expected, highly anticipated, hyped, or even overhyped big games, and those sort of out-of-nowhere surprise slam dunks. There's been plenty of it, starting with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in February.
Yes. Kingdom Come Deliverance, a game that was really well optimized in the age of 2025 games that have been coming out or so. Yeah, I can definitely, yep, I agree. I definitely can see it being nominated for Game of the Year. Is this the only game that was fully optimized of this year? Optimization in my modern games can't be.
February. This game kind of caught us all by surprise because while
So
the
far,
first
yeah?
game is
Okay.
kind of a flawed gem, the sequel is absolutely excellent. It's got an engaging story, unique challenging gameplay, a beautiful world to explore, and it was impressively stable compared to how much of a buggy mess the original was. Kingdom Come was an immediate Game of the Year contender. It really is a huge step up from the first game, and it deserves all the accolades it got. Later the same month, though, we got another game that everybody pre-release was kind of like, oh, this is probably going to be a Game of the Year candidate, but it didn't really fully live up to the hype.
Everyone told me I was incorrect. Everyone told me I was crazy. Everyone told me I was a grifter. But who was right all along, bitches? Who was right I told you fucking Monster Hunter was definitely not a nomination for Game of the Year. I also was positive about it, be like, I hope it does well. But it did not do well. And it's still not doing well. To this day.
That is, of course, Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, we can all have our different opinions on Monster Hunter Wilds. I actually think it's a logical step. It's quite a good game. It's basically what I want. A lot of people thought it's not as good as Monster Hunter World, but there's reasons why a more streamlined experience works better for certain people.
I've had Worlds for years, was good and loved it. Wanted Wilds. Every update seemed to get worse. Still don't have it. I played it. I played the story. I literally completed the story in like a couple days. That was it. The only thing that was quote unquote challenging, right? I'm gonna put quotation marks challenging, was the what's his name or so? The black dragon that does the infestation disease or so. I forgot. Gore Magala. There you go. Gore Magala was literally the only, like, I guess, quote, my wall or so, but it took me all the way to the end game to do that. Like, all the way to the end. That's it. Everything else was, like, complete breeze through, which was insane. It was the craziest thing I literally saw, like, literally, I was, like, what is it, fighting that one monkey, that fire monkey or so? I've uploaded my playthrough on my main YouTube channel. I shit you not. That monkey missed so many attacks. It was ridiculous. It was just honestly just ridiculous how the AI was just like completely like not working very well. 310 hours in Worlds. I still have main story and to rip through. I think I spent about, on PS4, I spent about more than 600 hours. I completed everything. Did not complete, I stopped playing after a while from the Guiding Lands. Picked it up again on PC, and I played it with my PC player fan base. So I think in total we did about like 800-ish hours in total. Like, in total, somewhere around there. But yeah.
People. And there's reasons why it doesn't. And no judgment, whichever side of the line you are on that. I think we all know it's not really in the running now.
Yep.
There's also some pretty bad performance issues with it that I'm just going to say are a serious mark against that game.
Yep.
But one of the prevailing conversations this year has been difficulty. Like, the majority of the biggest, most talked about games this year are uniquely demanding challenges. Kingdom Come goes a more simulation route with its difficulty, puts a lot of pressure on new players in a way a lot of open world RPGs like that don't, as the player gains skills and learns how.
Yeah, but you can still respect, even if the game is not for you and it's a little bit like it's not your type of game in general, you can still respect it the way how it is. Like, personally, not my type of game, but I can still respect the medium of what it is in general, you know?
The game works. It becomes less difficult, but it takes perseverance to get to that point. On the flip side, a lot of the complaints about Monster Hunter Wilds is that they made it too easy. People say it removed a lot of the challenge that makes those games so interesting,
Yep.
and that left people disappointed. I'm not sure that's really what it is, but I get why people are saying that.
No, that is definitely one of the part of the issues of why Monster Hunter Wilds is just not a great game. Like, I don't mind the new mechanics that they added in it, but I'm gonna be honest with you, how, like, this is because I play heavy bowgun, right? you can't take off the shield. The shield is automatically on, like, posted on it. Like, you can't take it off. In World, you can either choose the shield, which, you know, which gives you damage, right? I mean, it will reduce your damage, but you can block a lot of things, right? Or you could choose the power barrel on the heavy bowgun, which gives you a lot of damage, but you can't block anything. So that's like the trade-off. You know, that's like the positives and the negatives between both, like, to choose. But in fucking Wilds or so, every fucking gun has a shield on it. And it's just kind of like... And also my dinky little shield literally blocks basically everything in the game. So it's kind of like... My heavy bowgun shield should not be equivalent to a lance and a gun lance user. It should not be equivalent. I should be able to block some things, but I shouldn't be able to block everything, you know? So system games should expand previous options for better gameplay or just leave it alone. Don't remove good things. Apparently they decided to streamline it so much or so to make everybody, like, the problem is they cater to everybody, but I'm gonna be honest with you, they didn't really cater to nobody at all when it comes to the actual core fan base of Monster Hunter. That's it. That's the only reason why this game will definitely be not nominated for Game of the Year.
But Split Fiction, that's a game that doesn't really fit the difficulty discussion.
Split Fiction is definitely going to be nominated for Game of the Year. I can agree with this 100%.
March 6th. It's one of those games we all expected to be good.
Yeah, that's the thing.
As a follow-up to It Takes Two.
If you make a game for everyone, that means it's a game for no one.
Absolute triumph of co-op game design. It's creative. It's a whole lot of fun while being.
I would have loved to play this
game,
but I don't have any like friends or so. You know,
It Takes Two story is odd to say the least at sometimes, and I'm just gonna say this one has a more entertaining story. It seems like almost a prerequisite nomination. I feel like it would basically any other year, and at least early on, I think we all assumed
the execution was bad.
Wasn't gonna be as stacked as it is. So maybe at the time seemed like an easy lock.
I would totally love to play this game in the future when I have
September, it's
that one VTuber friend to play with 24/7. You know,
co-op game, and some of those early safety votes are. I mean, they make sense. I think Split Fiction's probably in the running. Well, there's a lot to talk about, so I'm gonna say I don't know that this is a guaranteed inclusion. I think it's fairly safe, but not a lock. Assassin's Creed Shadows came out March 20th, and it was
no, this game will not be nominated for Game of the Year.
generally considered a step up for the series. I don't think these win Game of the Year anymore. They're going to have to completely reboot the whole thing or make a new one from the ground up, and I don't think they're going to do that. Getting back on track, I think the next major pick for many, especially at time of release, was Blueprints, which came out April 10th. It's a roguelike puzzle game. It's difficult to define, hard to pin down. I do think what drove so much of its appeal, especially early on, though, is just that. It's weird, and it's a brutally challenging puzzle game that is literally full of surprises. There's genuinely mind-blowing stuff in this game, but it's all wrapped up in a semi-random roguelike structure. At first, it feels like the randomness is bullshit, and then you get far enough in, you start understanding that you can control the randomness, and it's satisfying as hell. And then you get further in, and the randomness starts to feel like bullshit again. It impresses early, and it's extremely difficult to solve on your own. But in this case, the difficulty of the game is a double-edged sword. Some people love it, some don't. I think opinions are a little more divisive now than back when it immediately came out. But ultimately, I think it's another major contender for Game of the Year.
If they could only choose one indie game to be nominated for Game of the Year, I probably wouldn't choose this one.
With other more popular games overshadowing it, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a game
1000% this game is, it's like a 5-star fucking restaurant, dude. It's so good. It's actually like really good to play.
that absolutely dominated the discussion and is in many ways still one of the front runners for Game of the Year 2025. I think people were seriously following the game before release. They knew it was going to be something special,
Yep.
but for a lot of us, it really blindsided us. You see this thing without knowing much about it, you assume it's going to be maybe a flawed cult classic or a middling JRPG wannabe. Instant Classic was definitely not on my bingo card. I talked about it repeatedly before it came out in upcoming games.
No, I knew when I saw that trailer, when I saw that first trailer that came out for this game, I knew this game was special. When you saw that first trailer, I don't know if any of you guys remember the first trailer for this game, but I do remember the first trailer of this game. And that was like, oh, I was like, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, you know? What did I say of the gameplay? It looks like your classic Final Fantasy VII 10 style JRPG. And damn, it did it well. It is the old school turn-based JRPG, but you can do the blocking, the parrying, and the dodging. It's not randomness, you know? Like it'll randomly roll the dice that you'll dodge or not dodge. You have to manually do that yourself.
Lists, and I mean, it looked cool to me, but I wasn't expecting it to, blow my mind or anything.
And also, just recently, they added a new game mechanic, which is called Gradient Parry. It's going to be a new type of mechanic that I just got introduced yesterday on this game. So it's pretty interesting. And I haven't even unlocked all the rest of the characters. And the story is really great. Like, I fucking love the story so far. The music is great. The story so far is great. The gameplay has been very enjoyable. I've been enjoying that.
It did, though. Like, coming from such a small team being sold for a lower price point, the level of quality is just through the roof. It's an excellent RPG, a beautiful story, excellent voice acting, incredible music, and an innovative battle system that remains a nostalgic throwback.
Yep.
It is that and a bold step forward at the same time. That's what makes the game work so well. While certain games have kind of inevitably faded from memory somewhat, the game is still heavily in the conversation. It's a constant source of debate and discussion. It's got challenging gameplay, it's complex, has a somewhat divisive story, and a weird relationship with the RPG genre, given it's from France and it's a Japanese RPG.
Yep,
one of those
that's
games
true.
is deliberately old school, but also very modern in a way that speaks to people. It wasn't until June 26th that we did get another game with the same caliber with Death Stranding 2. Major games released between, like Doom, The Dark Ages, Mario Kart.
I wouldn't be surprised if Death Stranding gets nominated for Game of the Year. I would not be surprised.
World, and the game of the year in our hearts, the masterpiece that was Mind's Eye.
Oh, fucking Mind's Eye, man. This game was something, all right.
But none of those games fit the game of the year mold that everybody's expecting. Death Stranding 2 does. It's a massive game with tons of story full of Hollywood celebrities and cutting edge
Yeah, this
technology
game is
made
definitely
by
going to
Jeff
get nominated
Keighley's
for
best
Game of the
friend,
Year.
Hideo Kojima. And there's a Dow that's a man, and his name is Dahlman. Dowman. It's the type of thing that the Game Awards was made for. It's got everything an award show would want, and while it's in many ways a highlight reel of Kojima's career, it's still a fantastic game that irons out some of the flaws of the original, which maybe for some people makes it
I
less
should
of a
play
unique
this game one of these
experience
days.
compared to the first, but it's so much fun. It's weird and dark and goofy and slow and meditative sometimes, and a full-on action-packed thrill ride others. It's got everything. If you're on board with Kojima weirdness, which he leans into this time around, both in seriously dark content and fourth wall breaking absurdity, I mean, it might be the best all-around game from Kojima, not necessarily the best of his games, but the best all-around of his games. But a game I don't think a lot of people were expecting us to talk about was Donkey Kong Bonanza, which came out in mid-July. Looked too many okay pre-release, nothing to get too hyped over. Want to say, look back at me talking about it, I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be good.
I wouldn't be surprised if this gets nominated for Game of the Year as well.
Good shit. And it was. Nintendo was really cooking with Mario Odyssey and Red Faction Guerrilla as the ingredients.
Ooh, Red Faction Gorilla, man. Ooh, that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
It's a crossover nobody knew they wanted. It's one of the weirdest, most ambitious Nintendo games yet, and it's an absolutely just a delight from top to bottom. It's a game that's so unusual that it's actually a little off-putting at first. Like, what the hell is this? What am I playing? The more you play it, though, the more it makes sense. And it's hard to believe they were able to make a platform where
Makes
you can
sense.
basically destroy.
But I'm just trying. When it comes to like Game of the Year, I look at it like I look at all the games that came out in the year, and then find out like which one is worthy of being nominated of Game of the Year and which one would actually win. It's like you have to kind of look at it like, you got to look at it like like all the games in general that were nominated, so, and why the reason they can win Game of the Year, or which one stands out the most compared to the rest. You gotta put your emotions aside, your favoritism and emotion side, and you have to look at all the games and be like, okay, I can see why.
Everything, and the game just works. The ambition is off the charts, and it works. Like, it is a fun ride from start to finish, and that entire ending sequence is completely insane. In a year full of some amazingly hype endings, Bonanza might have the hypest. But jumping ahead to September 4th,
here it is, Silk Song.
It is known as Hollow Knight Silk Song. It was a meme because
Definitely this song will definitely be nominated for Game of the Year. I would not be surprised if this game gets nominated.
because it took so long to come out. Most wish-listed game on Steam for many years. It was inevitable that this thing was at least going to be in Game of the Year discussion for whatever year it actually came out on, as long as it, was good. And while Monster Hunter Wilds got decried for being too easy, Silksong has actually had some controversy for being too hard. I think the difficulty of this one caught people by surprise. And when it comes to difficult games, you never really know where the pendulum's going to swing in terms of overall opinion. But yeah, some extremely challenging games got universal praise like Elden Ring. And sometimes difficulty generates a lot of criticism like Shadow the Erd Tree. Opinions about Silksong
Just sounds like a skill issue in my personal opinion.
Are pretty hot right now. There's a lot of back and forth in regards to difficulty, at least within its fan community.
Skill issue.
The gaming press opinions are a lot more generally positive. Back when we gave our first impressions, we weren't completely sure which way to lean on it, but having been able to fully finish it, I was crazy positive about the game, even though I was kind of not sure whether to say it was what it needed to be or not. It's such an excellently designed game, so dense and satisfying. There's so many little details and secrets and surprises. It's a game that's it's so much fun to explore. And there's sometimes it makes you want to pull your hair out, yes, but it ultimately does play fair. It's very challenging, but I never feel like the game made me die. I feel like I died playing the game not good enough. The challenge is crazy, but it is super satisfying to finally finish off some boss you were initially struggling with. Like, just what you're getting here is nuts. For just $20, you get 50 hours of content, and that's not 100%. It's not accessible in the way that the original Hollow Knight is, but man, does it deserve a spot among the Game of the Year contenders. Another game that deserves a spot is actually last year's Indiana Jones The Great Circle. It wasn't eligible last year because it was released in December. I don't think it's going to get the attention it deserves because it came out last year and people aren't going to be thinking about it. Man,
yeah, but even then, on top of that, the problem is with this game itself. When it first came out, you had to have RTX, like it had RTX on. So not a lot of people got the chance to play this. So, that's probably like one of the, because like you can't turn off the RTX on this. Like you cannot. It's built into it. So it's just kind of like, and that's why I didn't play it, because I'm just kind of like, there's no way my GPU can handle this thing and my VTuber model at the same time. No siree.
Is it an excellent game, and it's probably Machine Game's best. It's the best Indiana Jones adventure since The Last Crusade by a frickin' country mile. And the gameplay is like closer to Dishonored than an Uncharted game. It's a super satisfying blockbuster of a game that I just want.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about this game.
I don't think it's going to get the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
Other than that, what's left? And there's a few upcoming games of potential, like Hades 2 is releasing out of early access September 25th. Ghost of Yotei is coming out.
Yeah, but it's in early access though. That's the thing. That's kind of like, unless they make like a category best early access game, then like, yeah, it can definitely win in that one, but definitely not Game of the Year.
October 2nd. It's been a while since we've gotten a.
Unfortunately, Ghost of Yotei has not been doing very well as of recently because of, well, you guys know exactly what's been happening the past couple of weeks anyways, because of certain developers decided to open their mouth of a certain someone passing away.
Proper AAA PlayStation Game of the Year, and the first Ghost of Tsushima, still holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. Right now, it's kind of hard to say how much attention the follow-up's going to get because What is it going to bring to the table that the original didn't? We'll see.
And then even on top of that, it's not even going to be released for everyone to play. It's only going to be on the Sony console first. So it already kind of like immediately kind of like alienates the player base already. So it's only the Sony people are only going to be able to play this game. And only the Sony people are going to be voting if it's good to them, you know? While for me and everyone else who have like, you know, either they have multiple consoles or, you know, or they play on PC, there's a lot more games on the PC side of things for all of these games that have been nominated, at least the games that this, you know, that they've kind of like displayed here, you know? I wasn't interested in the game because of the model of the MC anyways. They just cemented my decision. Yeah, unfortunately, the developers made... Yeah, did they fire them? Yeah, maybe. They probably did fire them, but who knows? But... You know.
Is it more of the game? Is
the
that
damage has been done?
Is that enough? These are all questions we won't be able to answer until we've actually, you know, played the game. There's more big games coming out with a few. I mean, Silent Hill F is going to be a big one. Battlefield 6, Black Ops 7.
Yeah, but we all know that Battlefield, Call of Duty is definitely... They don't have Game of the Year potential. Silent Hill, kind of really depends if this one is going to be very good, but I can definitely see it winning the horror category. But the problem is the horror category isn't really like robust as it used to be.
Ninja Gaiden 4, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, Outer Worlds 2, Metroid Prime 4. But there's going to be a few of these that aren't even eligible. Call of Duty games also just don't win Game of the Year.
Yep.
Battlefield games
Yep.
probably foolhardy to expect that as well. Not an indictment of their quality. It's just they don't generate the kind of
Yep.
buzz with the voting audience that a game like Silent Hill F, if done right, could. Kind of a wild card, could
Yep.
go either way. We've been surprised.
This one can have potential if it plays its cards correctly. That's only if. Black Ops 7, I think, will probably be another forgettable, mediocre COD game. Yeah, we're gonna play it, of course, you know, because it's free on the Xbox Game Pass at the end of the day. I wouldn't say win, get nominated for Game of the Year, because because we're just talking about getting nominated. Then after that, they have to battle it out with the other games for Game of the Year.
So many times this year, so who knows? So here, these are the games that I think are likely to be in the running for Game of the Year 2025.
Let's see.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2,
Yep.
Donkey Kong Bonanza,
Yep.
Hollow Knight Silksong,
Yep.
Kingdom Come Deliverance
Yep.
2, Split Fiction,
Yep.
Blueprints, and maybe based on
Eh.
what happens when it comes out, what
Maybe.
the game is when it comes out, Reputation certainly precedes it, but it could be, you know, out of the running based on just being an uninspired follow-up. Ghost of Yotei. Hades 2 is a really good game, and the first one got a lot of buzz and awards, but this is not getting the attention the first one
Yeah.
did. Might be wrong, could sweep the awards like the first game did, but at least right now, I just not seeing the hype.
Yeah.
That's 7 pretty legitimate contenders.
6 to
for
7
a big
games in
award.
total.
Even though we're leaving out some pretty popular and well-regarded games. I mean, Mario Kart World is very high rated, and
We don't talk about that game.
Elden Ring came out this year, though, and it's not even in the conversation. It's been a packed year without question, and that's not even counting some of the...
The Doom game was okay, but I don't think it was that crazy, you know? AKA from Fleekazoid, bumper cars! So...
big possible Dark Horse candidates could sweep in out of nowhere. Now, to be clear, the games I'm going to call Dark Horses, I don't expect any of them to be in the running. Maybe they should be in the running, but I don't expect it. Like Schedule 1, it's a standout indie game, but it's just a little too early access. Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 could get some attention. And then there's the darkest of Dark Horses, a little indie game called Look Outside that has burrowed into my brain, just won't go away. It's a relatively crude RPG Maker game that somehow manages to be one of the most haunting, legitimately scary, yet
that's pretty
also
cool.
hilarious games I've ever played. There's nothing out there quite like Look Outside. The more I think about it, the more I do feel it deserves a serious consideration, at least for nomination the Game of the Year. It's pretty far from typical Game of the Year material, but look at the list. It's eclectic.
Yeah, it may be a big list or so, but we all know for 100% fact there's only... I wouldn't be surprised if sort of to see... I wouldn't say get nominated for Game of the Year, but I wouldn't be surprised if sort of the C shows up at the Game Awards in some category.
As hell. The gamut runs from most star-studded
Metal Gear, I can definitely see it being nominated for a certain category, but I don't know about Game of the Year though.
AAA to some pretty small indies. Blueprints was made by one guy, a solo developer. Silk Song was made by 3 guys. I mean, there's triple the amount of guys, but very few guys. These kinds of indie games, they would have no chance in hell a few years ago, but like War, things have changed. Indies are, I mean, the idea of an indie game is becoming mainstream. You don't release a game independently and just expect it to be mainstream, but it's possible now. Probably the most talked about and highly anticipated game of the year is Silk Song.
Yep.
So who's gonna win though? Now that, I have no idea. Last year the winner was Astrobot, and that took some people by surprise. 2024 was
I'll be honest with you, the Astrobot winning Game of the Year was the most cop-out thing I've ever seen in my entire life, to be honest.
kind of in a similar place where there was no clear winner, but I don't think the quality of the competition was quite the same. Everything's like really good this year. Like there's definitely some of the games we've mentioned today that are going to be considered all-time greats. We will remember at least some of these games decades from now. As good as this year's roster is, I kind of think Clear Obscure might be the front runner. It's kind of just catnip for the type of person that votes in these things. It's got the attention, it's got the hype. It's also an out of nowhere small developer doing something crazy that's
I'll be honest with you. Clear Obscure was definitely the one that caught a lot of people's attention. I ain't gonna lie. It did. It actually did.
Considered big, but that doesn't mean the outcome's certain. Sometimes the safest pick is the most controversial pick. I suspect that played a bit of a part in why Astrobot won. Not to knock that game, but some people were kind of mad because it was just a safe choice.
Yeah.
It's a great game, though. If 2025 has an equivalent, it's maybe Death Stranding 2 or Split Fiction. Possibly, again, depending on how it is when it comes out, Ghost of Yotei. The big breakaway here is that if you're into a wide variety of games, this has been a really good year with a lot of interesting stuff to play. And even if you're only interested in the absolute best of the best that gets awards attention, there's still a lot to be happy about. Of course, not every single game on here is going to be everyone's cup of tea. And sure, the Game Awards is literally just a popularity contest for industry folks. It's ultimately, what we're talking about here, because there's plenty of great games, and I'm not going to knock a great game. A lot of these games are somebody's favorite game. These kinds of awards favor a certain kind of game, though. Usually single player, generally story-driven, often mechanically demanding or innovative.
Dude, I swear to God, Stellar Blade didn't even win an award in that game show, and I feel like it got robbed. It really did. Stellar Blade was like barely even at the show, to be honest.
While still maintaining a level of traditional standards of quality. So the truth is that whatever wins or loses, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is your own personal game of the year, your own favorites, your own not so favorites.
That category doesn't
exist. Nice
exist.
to see something get recognized on a wider stage.
Yeah, same with Wukong
you
as
have
well.
to also acknowledge that game of the year sometimes feels a little bit meaningless. I mean, every video game under the sun gets a game of the year.
Because I saw Asmongold playing Astrobot. Like, it's a good game, but I don't know about, Game of the Year winning, to be honest. So, also Resistance 3, man, I would love to see that game to come back.
No matter how good or bad it actually is, everybody knows this stuff doesn't matter, but we can't help but obsess about it either way. For this reason, it's fun to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
I think so. And I think on that note,
For me personally, when it comes to like Game of the Year, like I kind of want to see the trailers for the new games or like new projects coming up, That's what I care about the most personally. And plus also seeing any stupid things that are happening, That's also another thing too, or anything rememberable that happens on the show.
we have a comment section that you're more than welcome to talk about it with us and with others. So leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course,
Yeah, that was a good video, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised a lot of these the games that he just literally announced or so. Yeah. Expedition 33 still got my vote. Game of the Year goes to Who Come After. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, another vote for Expedition 33. It's a game that left the lasting impression and will be a memory that I keep going back to until I go maj. I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it again. DLC should not be eligible for Game of the Year. Yeah, DLC should not be eligible for Game of the Year. When I heard that, when I heard that it was going to be part of Game of the Year, I was like, what is happening to the Game Awards show? I just don't understand what they were thinking when they literally said that, to be honest. Yeah, DLC is part of Game of the Year. No, it's not. It's called Game of the Year, not DLC of the Year. If you want a DLC category, add a DLC category. But don't you dare put it in the same roster as an actual fully fledged game being released on that same year. I just don't understand. If you want to make an early access category, make an early access category. If you want to make a DLC category, make a DLC category. But you should never be putting them together whatsoever for Game of the Year. No. Yeah, you can do that. You can put it like as in like, you know, below, like before you announce Game of the Year, you know, the best DLC of the year, you know. You can do something like that, you know. You know, builds up hype towards, you know, the Game of the Year, you know, roster, and keep games themselves of what's being released a full-fledged title that you have to pay, you know, your hard-earned cash that is fully complete of that year it came out. Not a DLC, because a DLC is just a small fragment of the game itself. Yeah, anything of that sort of nature, you know. Mostly, I think anticipated game is a lot more better than anticipated DLC, because remember, you got to keep the roster of categories a little bit low. So I'd say best DLC of the year, or best DLC, you know, or whatever, you know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens this year. I'd be curious if they'll announce something like a new category or something like that. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Good video. I actually do agree with this list, because those games, there's like Nintendo games, there's indie games, which usually Nintendo and indie games are always nominated for Game of the Year. And then you got your couple AAA games, and then you got some AA games in there. So yeah, definitely not surprised at all, because this year was definitely pretty good. There was a lot of good games. Even though I did not play a lot of those games, I gotta still respect, you know, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Still gotta respect Split Fiction. Still gotta respect, you know, Death Stranding 2. Even though I have not played any of these games specifically, I still gotta respect them at the end of the day. To be perfect, DLC takes over Game of the Year, then the games of that year weren't so good to be outdone by something stale that was reheated in the oven. Yeah, but last year there were games that came out that did leave an actual good impression of that year. That's the problem. So, but yeah, anyways, that's the end of the video, and yeah.